There is a question you have carried for a long time. Maybe you have never said it aloud. Maybe you have whispered it only to yourself in those quiet moments when no one is watching. But it has been there, pressing against your chest, waiting for someone to answer it honestly. Why does life hurt so much? Not just sometimes, not just during obvious tragedy, but consistently, persistently, in ways that seem disproportionate to what is actually happening. You wake up tired even after rest. You achieve something and feel empty within days. You love someone, and that very love becomes a source of anxiety. You try to do everything right and still feel like something is fundamentally wrong. This is the problem I want to address today. Not suffering in general, not the philosophical question of why pain exists in the universe, but something much more specific and much more practical. The problem is this: the intensity of your emotional pain often exceeds what your actual circumstances seem to warrant. You know this. You have felt it. Someone says something small and you spiral for hours. Something does not go according to plan and you feel as though your entire life is falling apart. A memory surfaces and you are pulled into sadness that has no clear endpoint. This is what requires explanation. Not that life contains difficulty, everyone can see that, but why your inner experience of that difficulty feels so heavy, so constant, so exhausting. The answer is not that you are weak. The answer is not that you are broken. The answer is that your mind has developed specific patterns that amplify pain far beyond its original size. Let me explain the first reason life hurts more than it needs to. No one sat you down and said, "Here is how life will go, and here is what you should expect." But the message was absorbed anyway, through stories, through observation, through the reactions of the adults around you, through the media you consumed, through every experience where you were rewarded for meeting certain standards and punished for falling short. If you are good, things will go well. If you work hard, you will be rewarded. If you love someone fully, they will love you back. If you are careful, you will be safe. If you follow the rules, life will be fair. Now, the critical point is, pain does not come only from the events themselves. Pain comes from the collision between what is happening and what you expected to happen. When reality matches your expectation, you feel neutral or satisfied. When reality exceeds your expectation, you feel grateful or surprised. But when reality falls short of your expectation, even slightly, you feel pain. And the deeper the expectation, the sharper the pain. This is why small disappointments can feel devastating, because they are not experienced as small. They are experienced as violations of the fundamental script you believed life would follow. Someone cancels plans with you. On the surface, this is a minor inconvenience. But if your deeper expectation was that people who care about you should prioritize you, then the cancellation becomes evidence that you are not valued. The pain multiplies. You do not get the recognition you hoped for at work. On the surface, this is one moment of being overlooked. But if your deeper expectation was that effort always leads to acknowledgement, then this moment becomes proof that the world is unjust. The pain multiplies. This is the first mechanism. The gap between expectation and reality creates pain. And the gap is often invisible to you because the expectation was never consciously chosen. If you recognize this pattern operating in your own life, if you can see that your suffering often comes from expectations you never consciously created, then leave a comment below with just these 3 words: "I see this." And subscribe this channel, Krishna Connects, not as a request, not as a cry for help, simply as an acknowledgement to yourself that you are paying attention. Now, let me explain the second reason life hurts more than it needs to. There is a difference between pain and suffering. This difference is not poetic, it is mechanical. Pain is the direct experience of something unpleasant. Suffering is what happens when you resist that pain. Imagine you touch something hot. There is immediate pain, a signal from your body that something is wrong. That pain is clean, it has a function. It tells you to remove your hand. But now imagine something else. Imagine that after you touch the hot surface and pull away, you spend the next 3 hours thinking about how unfair it is that the surface was hot, how you should have known, how this would not have happened if you had been more careful, how life is always putting dangerous things in your path, how other people seem to avoid these situations, how you are probably cursed or stupid or destined for difficulty. That extended experience is not pain, that is suffering. And suffering is created by resistance, by the mind's refusal to accept that the event happened. This is happening inside you constantly. Something ends, a relationship, an opportunity, a period of your life, and the direct pain of loss occurs naturally. That pain would pass if allowed to move through you. But instead, your mind begins to resist. It argues with reality. It insists that this should not have happened. It replays what could have been. It searches for who is to blame. And so the pain that could have lasted hours lasts months. The pain that could have lasted days lasts years. Resistance is not a character flaw. It is a learned response. You learned that accepting painful realities meant giving up. You learned that fighting reality meant caring. You learned that if you just think about it long enough, you might change what already happened. None of that is true. But the pattern was installed anyway. And so now, whenever life delivers something unwanted, your first response is not to feel it and let it pass. Your first response is to resist, to tighten, to argue, to replay. That resistance is what transforms manageable pain into overwhelming suffering. Here is the third reason life hurts more than it needs to. Your mind has a habit of making everything about you. This is not arrogance. This is a survival mechanism that has been over-applied. When you were very young, you were the center of your own world. This was appropriate. An infant cannot conceptualize that other people have separate lives, separate concerns, separate reasons for their behavior. The infant only knows something happened and it affected me. But this early framework often persists into adulthood without being updated. When someone is short with you, your mind concludes that you did something wrong, rather than considering that they may be exhausted, distracted, or dealing with something entirely unrelated to you. When you are passed over for something, your mind concludes that you are inadequate, rather than considering that the decision may have involved factors you will never know about. When something goes wrong in your life, your mind whispers, "Why does this always happen to me?" As though the universe has specifically selected you for difficulty. This is personalization, and it drastically amplifies pain. Because if everything that happens is about you, then everything that goes wrong is evidence about your worth. Every closed door becomes rejection. Every unexpected change becomes punishment. Every difficulty becomes proof that something is fundamentally flawed at the center of who you are. But here is what is actually true. Most of what happens is not about you. Most people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine. Their actions are driven by their own fears, their own priorities, their own conditioning. You are often a minor character in their story, just as they are a minor character in yours. This is not meant to diminish your importance. It is meant to free you. Because when you stop personalizing everything, you stop carrying weight that was never yours to begin with. The stranger who was rude is just a person having a hard day. The opportunity that did not work out is just one of millions of moving pieces in a vast, interconnected system. The friend who forgot to call is just a human being with limited attention, not a judge delivering a verdict about your value. Pain becomes lighter when you stop insisting that every instance of it is a message directed specifically at you. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed the belief that the goal of life is to reach a state of consistent happiness, a place where things finally feel good and stay good, where uncertainty is resolved, where pain is eliminated, where you arrive at a destination called happy and remain there permanently. This belief is not stated openly, but it runs beneath almost everything in modern culture.